Welcome to Book Crew. We are on KCCC 9:30 a.m. in Carlsbad, New Mexico on Mondays at noon. We're available on YouTube and Rumble under the Task Force Geek banner. And by the time you hear this, we'll be on every major podcast aggregator out there. I am writer and marketing Jedi Dirk Hooper, and I'm joined as always by author and editor Beth A. How you doing, Beth?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Dirk?
Good, good. It's a rainy day here.
See, it's pretty nice and sunny, but it's sunny but cool here in New Mexico. And at least it's not dirt and sand blowing all over the place like it has been. So that's always a plus.
For sure. Look, I'm going to hand over a couple of things to you to because just to the nature of this episode. The first thing I'm going to hand to you is about the cover of your book for the or Love of a Samurai.
Love of a Samurai.
That's right.
So you know, you and I talk a lot, and man, I've been obsessed with writing this story. I think this book has been a long time in coming. I have gone back to writing the way I used to, outlining, giving myself a really deep outline to work with, giving myself the grace to just write what I want and not what I think needs to be pigeonholed into something. And so Love of a Samurai has, is oozing from my pores at this point, for lack of a better way to put it, because I am so obsessed with it. I've done the research on Edo period Japan. I've done the research on the Tokugawa shoguns. I've done research on the clothing, the whole 9 yards. And it's just, man, it feels like when I was writing, when I wrote Dorian and when I wrote Beyond the Steps of Stone. It's that same kind of vibe that's been going on. So I had come up with the cover concept that a friend of mine tossed some, the text and everything on. And then, what was it, Thursday? You came to me and said, let me try it. And man, if anybody's looking for a cover artist, I highly recommend Dirk. This will be the second cover he's done for me. And
thank you,
man, as soon as you showed it to me, I was like, oh yeah, we're going to go with this one. And I could tell you really wanted to play with this and that you really wanted to do something with it. And I appreciate it because what this project really means to me right now. So for those of you watching the podcast, you get to see the cover now. I haven't released this out to the world yet, but here's the cover for, and it's not going to be the next book I put out, but it'll be, it will come out hopefully by the end of May is my timeline. Just everything about this cover, the colors, the samurai himself, it fits with what I am writing. It fits the story. He's got that intensity that my samurai in the book has. And it's just, yeah, I can't thank you enough for doing this. I love this cover.
Oh, it's my
I've showed
pleasure,
it to, I appreciate it because, I know this was a labor of love for a friend and man, I can't wait to see this in print and get my little grubby little fingers on this one.
I wanted to do this cover for
hardback too.
I wanted to do this cover for you for two reasons. Number one, I felt like I kind of got this one. If some of the subjects of your books, it's like, what do I have to add to this? But this is feudal Japan. I get it. I get that. I felt like I understood the genre and what you needed for the cover. So I felt like I was qualified. Yeah. But more importantly than that, I've heard you talk about this book now for many episodes. And then of course we talk off of these episodes and stuff. And I know how much this project means to you. And I also feel deeply that this is a project that is like potentially lightning in a bottle for you because of the popularity of the Shogun series right now. I know that there are teeming millions of people out there that are pumped and primed and ready for a feudal Japan romance story. And so I think that you are potentially, I think you've got a hit on your hands. And
I hope so.
The thing is that you could write the best book that's ever been written in the history of mankind. And it doesn't matter if you don't have the cover that will sell the book,
Exactly.
Because that's, they say don't judge a book by its cover, but unfortunately that's exactly what happens. You must have,
and that's exactly what we do.
That does the job for you. If someone sees the cover, assuming they don't already know and love you, I mean, if you already have your fans and stuff, but if you're trying to sell to someone who doesn't know you, you got to have that cover. And so it was real important to me to hopefully, do my part to give you that cover. I want to say that I didn't.
That. I really do.
Oh, I mean, it's absolutely my pleasure. The artwork is not mine. It's a stock image that I got, and I did do some painting and some modification on the thing to make it, because it wasn't, right where I wanted it to be.
Yeah, it wasn't 100%. Yeah.
But I did do the full design job on the cover, and I mean, Beth and I went backwards and forwards the last couple of days, figuring out how to get the title correct. Which is always, that's just part of the process of getting these things right. But I mean, I think if I saw this, I would be interested. I'd want to know what's under the cover.
And hopefully, the subject matter, I also hope appeals to the male audience, the male romance readers that we know about. I'm trying to make sure, that the book has enough action, so to speak.
Yeah.
As well as the romance part of it itself. I will warn people, though, that there are some scenes that will require a box of tissues. I've made myself cry writing it. So this will be the first book I've also ever put a map in. We're talking like, Lord of the Rings gone, Game of Thrones style map in the front of the book, which our mutual friend Steve Shank is drawing for me. And I've actually laid out
we love Steve.
Section breaks. Oh, Steve. So Steve is actually reading it as I'm writing it. He's kind of beta reading it as well. And he's like, cool. I'm not a romance reader. He goes, but you've got me. Which I just love. I mean, he's like, you sending me a chapter? Let me finish it first and I'll send it. And another friend of mine is reading it as I'm writing it. So they might be a bit biased because they are close friends, but if my close friends are enjoying it, then I think everyone else will too.
How long do we have before you release this book?
My goal is to release it by the middle of May.
2025.
So about a month. And then I am planning a book box to go with this.
Oh, interesting.
I've planned a book box to go with this. There is a cover artist who also offers individual artwork, like artwork cards to go in the book box. So I've commissioned her to do one for me of Helena and Ugio, my characters. And then, I've got, there will be a separate short story that will go with it. I will wait until November to release that because I'm releasing that as part of an anthology with a group that I'm involved in. It'll go in their anthology, but it will also be, available to readers. So there's things that'll go in the book box, like letters from the main characters, and some other stuff. So yeah, this one is, this is the book I've wanted to write for a very long time, but just hadn't done it yet. And that's where I'm going with it.
Well, we will do when you release it, we'll do a full episode on it.
Oh yeah.
And stuff. All right. Well, I'm going to turn it over to you again and allow you to.
Yes, because we have things to talk about.
To ask some questions to me.
Dirk is always teasing me about the 10 million books that I'm currently writing, but what a lot of you probably don't realize, unless you've been a regular listener to the show, is that Dirk is an author too. And he has his second book coming out called The Dominatrix Squad. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Dirk's work, he is an erotic romance writer. And if you haven't read his first book, Dominatrix Boss, I highly recommend it because it's very good. And it's a lot of fun to read. So, Dirk, tell us what started you off with both Dominatrix Boss and Dominatrix Squad. How did this all come about?
I guess the impetus for me writing the first book was being interested in femdom fiction, female domination fiction, and then reading what was out there at the time. Let's say, I've always been interested in BDSM and femdom fiction. But around that time, I was kind of, looking what was out there, and everything that was available at the time. So this was, let's say 12 years ago, was it was not great. It was not, it was typically one of two things. It was like 50 Shades of Grey, which means that it was written by someone who is not in the community. They don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Right.
And so that they were writing from a kind of like a outsider perspective. They, there wasn't any, they were not educated on the subject. Or femdom fiction was written by professional dominatrices, and their fiction was not romantic in nature. So the submissives were not connected in any way to the dominants. It was just, like scenes, like kind of disconnected scenes that were happening with these characters. There was no romantic involvement between the characters. So no one was writing romance in the femdom realm besides Anne Rice, who wrote a book called Exit to Eden, which I love. And, but that was one book. That's one book. And there's a whole genre there that was not being serviced in the way that I felt like it should. Like, it wasn't being written for me predominantly.
Since you mentioned Anne Rice, have you ever read her Sleeping Beauty trilogy?
I have. I've read all of those. Yeah, those were male dominant or female submissive.
Yeah, they were male dominant, but
and super spicy erotica.
Super spicy.
Super spicy. I mean, it's just it's a whatever. It's level 10, level X.
It was more like a level 15.
Yeah, it was really super spicy stuff. And then Exit to Eden is a little bit more. They made a terrible movie on Exit to Eden. But anyway, that was
horrible. The book was phenomenal, though.
Oh my gosh, the book was good, and was exactly the sort of thing that I was looking for. But it was a unicorn. There just wasn't anything else out there. And then, also in addition to just wanting to write a book that I wanted to read. I figured if I wanted to read it, other people would too. Also came with a little bit of strategy in that I would be potentially a big fish in a small pond. I would also be writing under the pen name Asher Lake, which would allow me to, so my first book wouldn't be, terrible and out in the public, if it turned out terrible.
Right.
It gave me some cover. It gave me some cover to be, to really go for it, to be really super honest, try to put as much as I could in there, try to speak honestly, because we're talking about, I'm writing about sex and I'm writing about relationships and stuff. And I wanted to be raw and honest and also introduce people into the realm of BDSM, maybe in a way that any sort of genre in that realm was not being written in. People were not expressing themselves, I felt, properly in any sort of BDSM books, by and large.
Since we're talking about BDSM, what was some of the research that went into that? How did you
I've been a member of the Okay, well, I've been a member of the BDSM community for well over 30 years. And for the past 15 years, every relationship that I've had has been, I haven't had a non-kinky relationship over the last 15 years. So, 30 years of experience. In addition to that, for those of you who don't know, since we're getting into this subject, I've written for basically every major BDSM publication out there, every magazine and website that exists. I am for lack of a better word, I hate this word, I'm an expert in the subject. I write particularly about relationships and stuff. I am a regular writer for ASN Lifestyle Magazine and a regular contributor to the BDSM Training Academy. And I write nonfiction articles about how to conduct scenes and how to be safe about things and how to relate to each other and that sort of thing. So, they say, write what you know. I know BDSM exceptionally well because I've been there and I've done it. And I've done it for a long time. And I have also been a BDSM mentor and have trained a lot of people on both sides of the whip, as they say.
So, and plus, coming with this background, you're also educating people that are not familiar with BDSM about the fact that there is more to it than literally just the whip, that there is emotional,
there's a lot more
give and take with it. Yeah. Now,
as a matter of fact,
some of that into, go ahead.
Yeah, that's one of the, speaking as for the second novel, that is, I obviously brought that into the first novel as well. I wanted the scenes to be realistic because a lot of times people who write BDSM fiction have no idea what the hell they're talking about, or they suggest things that are unsafe. With that said, there is one thing that I want to mention. These are the characters that are in the first book and the second book are flawed. They're flawed characters. They're not idyllic constructs of the perfect BDSM couple. And the reason why they're flawed characters is because this is a story. I don't want to tell a story about these perfect angelic beings that have come down from heaven and have, everything that they do is perfect. That is boring as hell. So, well,
it's not realistic either.
It's not realistic. And it's, what a terrible story that would be. So these are hopefully realistic characters, somewhat realistic characters, and they are getting into in the story, the original story, Dominatrix Boss, is about a someone who works at a company, and his name is Tim, and he has a thing for his direct boss, his who is an assistant manager at the company that they work for, and they have a little bit of a relationship, platonic, that has developed prior to the first book. And because she was going through a divorce and they kind of got to know each other, and he was supportive to her. And then, so he has kind of a thing for her. And then in the first book, basically through kind of a series of circumstances, they end up playing together. And she doesn't really know anything about domination, but he gives her a place to go get some information. And then they start interacting with each other as dominant and submissive. And the book ends where she tells him, look, as it turns out, I'm really into this, but I want to learn more. And that's kind of the beginning of the second book. So in the second book, it's called Dominatrix Squad. And the character, the woman boss, her name is Ava. She has decided that they're going to go to a local dungeon, and so that she can begin to make some contacts and she can learn more about about how to do what she does. And she runs into someone who's very experienced named Empress Kina in this community. And Empress Kina invites her over to her home and begins to train Ava in kind of all of the different things that she doesn't know, because this is all very much new to her.
Right.
And in addition to that, she talks to Ava about the relationship that she has with Tim, and suggests that that Tim doesn't know his place, and so she sets into motion a series of events and that unfold throughout the book, where she's trying to get Tim to be a better slave. And what that means is him playing with other people and kind of learning on his own while Ava learns on her own, and it threatens to break the two of them up.
So what was one of the hardest scenes? What was one of the hardest scenes to write in the second book?
Well, I call my second book was what I called it, The Empire Strikes Back. And the reason why is because I did exactly what they did in The Empire Strikes Back. I split up the main characters so that each of them could learn something. It was very important that it was important that the two of them kind of had a different path so that they could find out what they had together. And just like in Empire Strikes Back, Luke goes off to Yoda to learn about how to be a Jedi. And just like that with Ava, she goes off with Empress Kina so that she can learn all of the ropes, so to speak, with as a professional, not a professional dominate, but a lifestyle dominatrix. And in the meantime, Tim is off kind of doing his own adventures. They're very much connected, but they're still not connected. And so I set up a situation where these characters were apart from each other. The scene where they get back together again near the end was exceptionally difficult for me, so much so that I changed the end. I won't tell you what that is, but an ending in mind, and because of how deeply emotional the reuniting scene was with those two characters, it forced me to change the ending of the book. So it was very difficult for me to write that scene. And you
I can understand that.
You talked about getting your tissues out. I hope that it affects people, in that way.
So now, is there going to be a third book to this?
The third book, I mean, look, when I wrote the original book kind of without a lot of plans. And then when I released the book, I had such an amazing, I mean, you wouldn't believe I got letters from dominant women who said that it helped them because it gave them a peek into the submissive mind, something that they, that they always wonder kind of what submissives are thinking.
Yeah.
And then I also heard from submissive men that said, some of them said, wow, you really get it here. And others were like, I thought that I wanted to be a 24/7 submissive, and now I'm maybe not so sure. It might be more, it might be more dedication than, or that I'm really interested in.
Than what they were looking for. Yeah.
But I got a lot of responses, and to be honest with you, the first book sold, quite well for a book it was a first book. It was a book that was written under a pen name, which is Asher Lake. And, in a niche of a niche. I mean, the femdom fiction is not a large deal. If I had written male dominant, female submissive, I might have a Netflix series by now, because that's obviously,
or the book might have gotten lost.
Well, that's also possible. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Or the book might have gotten lost. So, yeah.
So, when I wrote the first book, I didn't have big plans for it, but right around the end of the book, I saw that I kind of had something. And over the intervening years, since it was a success and since I heard from so many people, I went back and added things to that first book so that I could world build. And that included I created a map for the city that they're in, which I named Liberty. I named their company. I added some things in that first book specifically for the purposes of world building. And then in the second book, which is twice the size of the first book, every single person that I mention in there, I have the ability to write a story about. I mean, all of the characters in there have a book in them. So obviously I could today get started on the third book. And by the way, the third book is going to be the second book is, because it's Empire Strikes Back, it's a little darker, it's kind of a tougher road. The third book is going to be a little bit more of a celebratory book, a little bit more fun, little bit more lighthearted.
Return of the Jedi.
I'm a little bit more without the yub yub song with the Ewoks at the end.
Great, now that's in my head. Thanks.
But the third book, is going to depend on how the sales are for the second book. I could literally start working on the third book tomorrow, because I know exactly what I'm going to do with it. It's obviously fresh in my mind. But I also desperately want to write a book that I can hand to my mom and to my friends.
Yeah, exactly. Which you are working on.
Yeah. And let them see what's happening, with my writing, and allow me to get, my writing out to the general public, as opposed to, because I feel like I'm ready for the general public to see what I'm writing. So my plan is to do Demon Town, but however, if the sales for Dominatrix Squad come out really strong out of the gate, then I might just postpone Demon Town and write that third book because, you want to strike while the iron's hot. And I feel like I could write that third book in about a month or 6 weeks and get it out in maybe a couple of months. And that would be valuable. Obviously, the faster you can release these things, the better. Right. So it's really going to come down. I set the world up so that I could write 100 books in this, in Liberty, of all the different, it's like Springfield in The Simpsons. Every one of these characters has their own story. Yeah. And so I can continue to write in this, but I only want to write in it if it's a hit. If it's not a hit, then I will eventually come back and write that third book no matter what, because it's in me. I'm ready to write in it.
It's in you. And I also, you have the need to finish that story.
I have to get the story out on these characters. But I also have another book in Liberty that's male dom, female submissive, that I'm dying to write to. I got a really good story that I want to write there, and I feel like that could be popular as well. But in any case, I'm ready to go to that third book. If it's a hit, the third book's coming quicker.
So who's your favorite? Who's the favorite character? Who is your favorite that you have, added to these stories?
I really like Ava a lot. I put a lot of effort into making her a, fully realized person that hopefully, I really want, this is romance, femdom fiction, which means that it's mostly geared to men who are submissive to read it. I mean, this is not for everyone. I won't say that this is a book for everyone. You should be into either BDSM or particularly female domination if you want to read it. I mean, I feel like it's particularly the second book, which I have themes and symbolism in. I have fully realized characters. I feel like it's a good book, but I don't have any. I don't feel like it's the book for everyone, but I really wanted Ava to appeal to not professional dominatrices, but real dominant women. And
any woman that's in, that's strong.
I want her to speak to them. And that's why I put so much into her. And I have two dominant women have read the book, and both of them said that she feels real and they sympathize with her and they really like her. So I feel like because both of them are very experienced in BDSM and they're dominant, that made me feel very good that I've written a woman character who they sympathize with and that they like, and that both of them said they saw themselves in that character. So as a writer, that's important, but particularly as a male writer writing a woman,
writing a female. Yep.
That is a big deal to me.
And I've read the first book, and Ava is a very realistic character. She is a very strong character. Regardless if you understand the BDSM part of it or not, she is a realistic character, strong woman that doesn't come off as over the top. So I think you've definitely hit the nail on the head with the character and the way you've wrote her, which makes me really excited to read the second book too.
Thank you. She gets it. For those who don't know, the first book is written in first person with Tim as the narrator. In the second book, it's both of them. Tim has chapters and Ava has chapters. So she gets more of a, I bring her out even more in the second book. And it's important to me that women like Ava, that they at least enjoy that. And there you go.
So you have a pre-order set up. Tell everybody where they can find your pre-order. So if they're interested in reading that one, or if they're interested in even reading the first one, where they can find them.
Yeah, they're both available right now on Amazon. I'm going to put a link up here for the second book, which I want to get as many pre-orders as possible. On the second book, you can go to Amazon.com and you can look for Dominatrix Squad, or you can look for the name Asher Lake if you're listening to this. Mm-hmm. And obviously a link to it will also be in the notes for the show. It will be on pre-order until May 20th, where I will release the book. It's only available on Amazon right now. May 20th, by the way, is my birthday. That's the reason why I'm releasing it on that day. Just because I thought that would be fun.
I'm doing the same thing this year, so we're good.
Are you? Yeah, it's fun. Hey, release a book. That's, hey, I can't think of anything that's a bigger party for me than
happy birthday to me.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to me.
But you can find both Dominatrix Squad and Dominatrix Boss, which is the first book, available right now on Amazon. The pre-order for Dominatrix Squad is 40% off. So as soon as it's released, it will be the full retail price. And also, for those of you who are ideologically opposed to buying things through Amazon, it will be wide. We've talked about that many times on the show. But because Amazon is the big 800-pound gorilla, I really wanted to get the pre-order and the ebook out on it first to hopefully get some really good pre-sales and hopefully get this thing launched properly so that it does the best it can, because I really want it to do well. I mean, I've put so much into this book, Beth. Mm-hmm. I really want people to like it and love it, and I want it to sell as well as possible. And if it blows my socks off, then that third book will be coming out soon after. It will change. It will change what I write next.
There we go. So tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me. Let's see. Let's get the thing up there. It's been interesting to sit in the interviewee seat for an episode.
It's nice to drive every once in a
while. You can find me at writeworks.dirkhooper.com. You can also find information on asherlake.net for the first book and the second book. I'm at themusesfunhouse.com. You can find me on X at Dirk Hooper Plus. That's PLUS. And Facebook.com is Dirk.Hooper. What about you, Beth?
You can find me at the usual spots on Facebook and X and Instagram at BA Freely. You can find me on my website at Beth Anne, ANNE, Freely, FRELY. And you can also find me at the Muses Funhouse. And if you don't remember any of that, just go look at BA Freely on Linktree and you will get all my links once and for all.
All right. Before we go, I want to say that Beth A. Freely is offering editing and book trailer services, and I'm offering author branding and social media management at the Muses Funhouse. Thanks for listening. For Beth A. Freely, I'm Dirk Hooper saying, dream hard.